Hello everyone, today's video is going to be extremely critical if you really want to learn powerful chess opening with the black pieces. Today we are going to discuss how to play the Caro-Kann Defense, and it is an opening that has been played for hundreds of years by top grandmasters in the world of chess, even including Magnus Carlsen, Alireza Firouzja, Hikaru Nakamura, Anish Giri, and I don't have any other names. So this opening is very popular and it is very strong and solid. After watching this video, you are definitely going to try out this particular opening in your games. So I don't want to waste any further time, so let's quickly jump into the video. So, Caro-Kann is the opening which is played with the black pieces. We are playing with the black pieces and our opponent starts the game with 1 e4. And we with the black pieces play the move c6. And the c6 is a very interesting move. The idea here is we want to play the move d5. For example, after knight f3, we want to play the move d5. And after pawn takes, we capture towards the center. And after this, you will realize how we are having 2 pawns in the center against 1. So this is the basic idea of playing this Caro-Kann opening. So after c6, white plays the move d4, which is the main move. After d4, we play the move d5. And here, in this video, we are going to discuss 3 critical variations which are also the main variation. After d5, we are going to discuss what happens if white takes the pawn. What happens if white pushes the pawn, which is the main variation, the advanced variation. And third, what happens if white plays the move knight c3 or knight to d2. First, what happens if white simply takes the pawn? We simply captures the pawn. And here white plays the move knight f3. We play the move knight to c6, knight to c3, bishop to g4. And the bishop is already very strong on g4. Like many players like to play the move e6. But guys, the problem of e6 here is the c8 bishop is simply bad. So it's always a good idea to first develop the light square bishop and then finally play the move e6. Short castle, knight to f6, bishop to g5, pinning up the knight. We play the move bishop e7, rook e1, short castle. And finally we have completed our development. So yep, this position is already pretty good. What are the ideas for black to be true? Black's idea is to play the move rook c8, putting pressure on the pawn on c2 as well as the knight on c3. The idea could be to play the move knight e4 in the future, which are very tempting options. Because for example, if let's take the move like a3, our idea can already be to take the knight, bishop takes and queen b6. Already very strong ideas. Hitting the pawn on b2 and queen into d4 is also coming up. So queen b6 is the most ideal square in such position. You must remember this. So this is what happens if white goes for playing the move e into d5. Such variations happen, such ideas happen. So now let's try to discuss what happens if white tries to push the pawn, which is the main move. After e5, there are 2 good options to continue the game with the black pieces. The main move is to play the move bishop to f5, which is nowadays also considered the best. But after bishop f5, I personally believe if you're going to play the move bishop f5, you must know a lot of theory. Because if your opponent plays the move h4, what are you going to play? For example, you play the move e6, which looks the most sensible move. Your idea is to play the move c5. You are opening up the dark square bishop. But here already the position is winning for white after g4. Hitting the bishop, bishop goes to e4, f3, bishop goes back, h5. And the bishop is already trapped and you are simply a piece lost. So this is what happens if you play the move bishop f5. You must know a huge amount of theory. So I recommend the move c5. And it looks like a bit weird. You played the move c6 and now you are playing the move c5. But the good idea here about a c5 here is, after c5, white plays the move c3, or else if knight f3, we are happy to take on d4, knight to c6, and we are already pretty good. Because the d5 pawn is a very strong pawn. So yep, c3, which is the main move, knight to c6, knight f3, bishop to g4. And the good thing about here is, as our pawn is on this e7 at the place of e6, we are having the opportunity to develop the bishop to g4. For example, going back to the start position, I believe that everyone knows the French opening, this particular opening. And the basic problem in this particular opening here is, the bishop on c8 is always stuck because the pawn on e6. So that is the only thing that we are using after playing the move c5 in this particular position. And now we are having this opportunity to develop the bishop to g4 as we have not played the e6 move yet. So it's basically a good version of French. After bishop g4, bishop e2, e6, h3 for example. Now there are already good ideas like simply take, c into d4, and now the d4 pawn is already a long-term weakness. You can already hit the pawn by playing the move queen to b6. It's a double attack, and we are already putting pressure on the b2 pawn. So white cannot play the move bishop e3 because the b2 pawn is hanging. So the position is already good for black, and he's going to win the pawn on the next move. So this is what happens if white goes for the advanced variation. This is the best variation. You can check it out in depth, in detail if you want to check. But yeah, it's very good. So this is what happens if white plays the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. Now let's try to discuss what happens if white plays the move knight to c3 or knight to d2. It doesn't really matter because whatever white does, we are going to capture the pawn on e4. And after knight into e4, many players like to play the move knight to d7. The idea here is, for example, after knight f3, black's idea is to play the move knight f6. Knight takes, and he's going to take with the knight, not ruining up the pawn structure. But the basic problem here is, at the place of knight f3, white is going to play the move queen to e2. Sorry about that. Queen e2, and after knight f6, it's mate in 1. Knight to d6. It's a checkmate. You cannot capture the knight, and the knight is attacking the king. Because the pawn is pinned, it's mate. So yeah, it is a very annoying variation to be true. So a better idea would be, I personally suggest, is to play the move knight to f6. After knight f6, e into f6. What is happening basically? You are taking away from the center. So it looks like you are simply giving control of the center to white. But in the exchange of it, you are getting a better protection in the king side whenever you are going to castle, because there is extra one pawn. And second, you are having the free flow of development, which is always a good idea. So after e into f6, knight f3, bishop to d6, bishop d3, short castle. The idea is already to play the move rook e8 check, so white castle, bishop to g4. You can already sense how black is having such a comfortable position. e3, trying to give the pawn structure a better look. Knight to d7, simply developing the pieces. Bishop e3, rook e8, putting the rook on an open fight. And finally, after h3, at the place of capturing the knight, we simply take the bishop back. And you won't realize, but your opponent is realizing that this particular pin is very annoying. So they really want to get rid of it, because black is having a very free flow position to be true. What are the ideas of black? The black's idea could be to play the move queen to c7, connecting the rooks. Then knight to b6, knight to d5, putting the pressure on the bishop. And the knight can even jump to f4 in the future. The other way to do it is to play the move knight f8, knight to e6, followed by knight to f4. So these are the good squares for the knight that you can go for. These are the good ideas and very repetitive ideas for black. For example, after bishop h5, white plays the move bishop e2, trying to remove this annoying pin. Already we can play the move knight b6. You can also play the move queen c7. It is no harm. But yeah, knight b6 going for this particular plan, putting more pressure on the bishop. White plays knight to d2. White want to exchange the bishop because this pin was already very annoying. So after bishop takes, queen takes, your opponent is already very happy. He's thinking that yeah, he solved all his problems. But now there are more problems coming up. f5. After e into f6, now we are playing the move f5, and now the position is starting to look a bad version for black, for white. Because after f5, black is already preparing to play the move f4. You cannot move the bishop because the queen would be hanging. So white plays the move queen f3, which is the most sensible move in the position, putting pressure on the f5 pawn, and now black can no longer push the pawn. We play the move queen f6, also developing the queen. Bishop f4, or else if you give one move to black, black would be happy to play the move f4, and the bishop is trapped. So you must play the move bishop f4. We are happy to trade off the bishop, and now we are going to play a strong move. Rook to e2, getting inside the position. After rook e2, if white plays the most natural looking move, rook e1, trying to trade off the rooks, it's already a blunder after knight to d5. Simply hitting the queen, and now the queen can no longer protect the knight, fortunately, because every square is particularly covered up. You have to move the queen, and now we can simply capture the knight and win the game. So yeah, this is the common blunder, and it's very easy to miss to be true. And after rook e8, rook e2, Black's idea is to simply play the move rook e8. If white plays the move rook d1, simply get the rook in, knight to d5, push the f4, f3, and the position is already very pleasant for black practically. So yeah, this is what happens if your opponent plays the move knight to c3. So yeah, this was the basic version of how to play the Caro-Kann defense. And now many players are wanting to know how to play against the Caro-Kann defense. So I don't wanna leave them alone. So we are playing with white pieces. We play the move e4, c6, d4, d5. We play the move knight c3. And after reading to e4, our opponent is expecting us to take, but we are going to surprise them by playing the move f3. Sacrificing the pawn, and now we are a pawn down, but in the exchange of it, after short castling, we got the open f file. We are already having the lead in development. So after knight f3, knight f6, bishop to c4. Black plays the move bishop to g4, which is the most natural looking move. Already it's a blunder. After bishop into f7 check, king into knight to e5 check. The bishop is also hanging, and this position is already very good for white. Material wise, it's even, but position wise, it's already completely game over for black. White can simply castle up, bishop e3. It's already very pleasant for white. So this is what happens if black plays a move bishop g4. And if in case black doesn't go for it and plays a move like e6, idea is bishop e7 short castle, we can already play the move short castle. And we are already having a free flow of development. Open f5, bishop g5 can come in, knight to e5 can come in, queen d2, rook e1, and the position is very good for white. So there is no harm to play this particular opening with the white pieces against the Caro-Kann. So yeah, this is it for today. We have covered everything. Let's give you a quick recap. c6, d4, d5. White is having three options to take the pawn, push the pawn, knight to c3 or knight to d2. And if you're playing with the white pieces, you just play knight c3, takes, and play the move f3. And you are having the free flow of development. So yeah, this is it. So guys, after watching this video, if you learned something, then make sure to like the video and share this video with everyone, because everyone wants to learn chess, how to play good openings. And if you are new to our channel, then make sure to subscribe to our channel, because we are going to come up with these interesting videos like this, so that we can help you to improve your game. So I'm going to see you soon. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.